Okay, we're back on Saturday because this weekend I have to work on Sunday, so we don't have to push the stream a day late for once. Hopefully, we can keep that up. Welcome back. I've got a few things to do today, so let's try to keep this one short. I know I always say that, and somehow they always seem to end up running long, but let's see what we can do. Alright, so let's get started. Post all your questions and comments in the chat room on the right of the screen. And let's just get to the review. Okay, Impact Wrestling from September the 22nd. Well, if you haven't heard, I'm not sure how you couldn't, TNA signed Cody Rhodes to some kind of deal. Not necessarily an exclusive deal. Apparently it's some kind of a new thing where he can work for TNA and ROH at the same time. But nevertheless, he's on his way. This TV was taped weeks ago, so they couldn't have him physically appear on the show, but they had a nice hype video for him. They played him up like a star and a big deal and a game changer and all that stuff, and that's all well and good. But the thing that confused me was that they aired the video at 9 o'clock. Yeah, this was easily the most buzzed about TNA-related news going into Impact this week. Why in the world you wouldn't open the show with this video, I have no earthly clue. Airing it at 9, I don't get that. Seems like a pretty baffling decision to me. Still, it's a nice piece of good news, getting Cody Rhodes. Hopefully they can make better use of him than WWE did for however long he decides to stay. And that shouldn't be too difficult because that Stardust gimmick was, wow. Personally, I'm crossing my fingers for a reunion of Team Rhodes Scholars. So, hopefully that can happen at some point. Next. They're still rolling with this three-minute round system for the Grand Championship matches. While the jury is still out on this, I think they may have hit on something this week that could point them in the right direction. Aaron Rex, Eli Drake was okay, I guess. But the one I found interesting was Drew Galloway, Eddie Edwards. This match was the closest they've come so far to selling me on this concept. Drew wins one round, Eddie wins another, and then it's a battle to take the last round and score the victory. And when it's coming down to the wire, every second matters. And Eddie kicks out of the pin attempt at the last minute, the last second, but Drew still wins. This was one of the most exciting. This was the most exciting of these matches so far. And I think the trick is emphasizing that beat the clock element more, because that's what made this one work for me. In the end, Eddie didn't really get beaten; he just ran out of time. And when time is as much an opponent as the other guy in the match, that seems to make it more compelling and exciting. I'm still undecided about it overall, but I think this match was a step in the right direction for this concept. And love it or hate it, at least they're committing to it. I liked Drew telling EC3 about all the times he got screwed over by one thing or another, and these new rules with the point system and whatnot ensures that this won't happen to him again. It can't hurt to show a guy like Drew being on board with this idea. So then Mike Bennett and Lashley attack EC3, and Drew just kind of wanders off, and Moose makes the save, and they beat him down too, and we have a main event. Pretty standard stuff, but I guess it works in a pinch. Now, my favorite segment of the night was, not shockingly, the Decay promo. They come out to address the broken, obsolete Hardys and the great war that will happen at Bound for Glory, and they're really pissed off now. They're selling this great, and the way this was produced was really cool, with the arena being all dark, and the eerie blue lights in the ring, and the Decay looked badass. And this is the kind of thing that really puts the Decay over as an act that is different, that stands out from everyone else, because their segments are produced differently. And that's part of why they work so well, because they continuously do things like this to stand out. And then the Hardys pull one over on them, because this time it's the Hardys showing up in the crowd while the Decay are in the ring, and they go back and forth. And this was a lot of fun, because every character has become so fucking weird at this point, that you put them all together so they can bounce their respective weirdness off each other, and it's just gold. You know, these promos were great. And the crowd is eating this up, too. This might be the most over feud on the Bound for Glory card at this point. I'm not sure you could argue against that. There's just one thing that doesn't feel like it belongs. Rebby has changed her look. She dyed her hair gray, which still looks really unflattering, by the way. But I don't get the impression that she's really trying to sell this like the rest of them are. Maybe she's out of her comfort zone. Maybe she's going along with this to humor her husband and she's secretly not that into it. Or maybe it's a charisma thing and she just doesn't have the acting chops to pull it off. I don't know, but I look at Rebby and it's like one of these things is not like the others. You know, she's not decaying, she's not obsolete or broken, she's just Rebby with her hair dyed gray. And when Matt was broken, he acted completely differently. After Jeff became obsolete, he acted completely differently. Hell, when Courtney Rush became Rosemary, she acted completely differently. But Rebby's just acting like herself. And unfortunately, herself is kind of a bitch. That's why I immediately hit the brakes when the lights went out, came back on with Stephen Abyss tied to the ropes, and then Rebby attacked Rosemary and ran her off. No, horseshit. I didn't buy that for a second. What's more, even after Rosemary committed 2 home invasions and tried to kidnap Rebby's son, twice, basically, I still find Rosemary to be the more likable character. Now, this problem is twofold, in my opinion. First, Rosemary has charisma coming out her ears. So even as a heel, she's going to be really likable and captivating, whereas even as a babyface, Rebby is still acting like she's in heel mode. Second, I don't care what anybody says, under no circumstances should Rebby be getting over on Rosemary in any capacity. And yet, this is the second time in 2 weeks where she's done that. You know, there's something very wrong with this. Alright? Rosemary is your future top knockout heel. She just is. Okay, Maria's not a wrestler, not really, and they haven't fully committed to Sienna yet for whatever reason, so who else is it going to be but Rosemary? Alright, the amount of star quality this girl has is nuts. They should be protecting her. She should be presented as someone who is incredibly dangerous and really difficult to get the better of at the best of times in order to preserve her mystique for when she eventually does join the Knockout division full-time. And then you got Rebby, who is married to Matt Hardy and is admittedly really good at being a bitch, and that's about it. You know, I don't see a lot in her beyond being a companion piece for the Hardys act, and I see no reason why she should be getting over on Rosemary, not in a brawl, not in a match, not in the Great War, not ever. Oh, Rosemary tried to steal your son? Oh, that's funny, because I still like her more than you, Rebby. Weird, huh? Yeah, maybe you should ask yourself why that is. Maybe make some changes to how you behave on camera. Just saying. The unfortunate part is that now we know that the Hardys are the ones writing this angle for the most part, then it's a pretty good bet that Matt is going to ensure that his wife has the last laugh against Rosemary, and damn, that depresses me to even think about that. So anyway, DJZ comes out later on to remind everyone that he still exists after winning the X Division title in a Great Ultimate X match, only to then disappear for 3 weeks. So the following match with Trevor Lee was good, but felt a bit inconsequential for the time it got. But I did really like DJZ's promo before the match. How the first time he won the X Division title, he kind of took it for granted, but now he's grown up and he wants to be the champion that the title deserves and the fans deserve and all that good stuff. These were good things to say. And things that needed to be said after the way the X Division title has been treated for some time now, to say nothing of what Lashley did with it. If you really want that to change, you have to treat the title with respect, and that starts with the champion treating it with respect. So this was good. So DJZ wins the match. Lee and Everett beat him down. Eddie Edwards makes the save and challenges DJZ to a match next week. That's fine, that's great, but DJZ versus Eddie Edwards sounds like a match that ought to be saved for Bound for Glory, seeing as how that pay-per-view is in a couple weeks and you don't have an X Division match booked for the card yet and don't seem to be building to one either. So, DJZ Eddie Edwards, that's about the biggest X Division match you could make. Why not do it at Bound for Glory? You know? Doesn't that make sense? Personally, I'd much rather see DJZ and Eddie Edwards in a one-on-one match for the title at BFG than some big spot fest with 10 dudes thrown in just to pop the crowd. You know, let's have the X Division title be treated like a legit championship instead of a flimsy reason to dump a bunch of guys into a multi-man car wreck with no real substance to it. And then, for this week's knockout match, we have Maria squashing some ham and egg jobber in order to send a message to Gail Kim. Wow. Okay, DNA writers, you have missed the point entirely. Look, Maria could beat a million jobbers. She could beat jobbers from now until Doomsday, and she still wouldn't look like she's in the same ballpark as Gail Kim. It's just not going to happen. You made sure of that. Okay? You're going into a match with a woman who you have pushed so hard and made to look so indestructible that she could probably beat Bobby Lashley if you put her in a match with him, versus Maria. Once you put Maria in Gail's wheelhouse, you exposed what a ridiculous mismatch this is. You really screwed up here because there's no drama in this anymore. There's no tension, no suspense, due to the fact that when you finally booked this, all you did was have Maria cut to the front of the line. Excuse me. All you did was have Maria cut to the front of the line for the meat grinder, essentially. And now, instead of Maria focusing on some kind of story or character-related thing that she thinks might give her some kind of edge against Gail, which has been her MO up to this point, you have her basically just goofing off and trying to look strong as a wrestler, which is by far the least interesting thing about her. Besides, that window closed a long time ago. You know, if you wanted her to look strong as a wrestler against Gail, you needed to start a lot earlier than this. You know, that's not going to happen at this point. We're at the 11th hour here. And besides, that's the one area where she's never going to outclass Gail, and everyone knows it. I mean, does Maria think that her beating generic ham and egger number 36 is going to intimidate Gail Kim, who TNA books like she's freaking Wonder Woman? Does anyone think that? No. And the announcers even pointed that out during the match. So Maria came off as looking really delusional here. Now, I don't understand how that's supposed to make this match a must-see event, because it doesn't work as hype. At all. It's not effective. Now, this doesn't make me want to see Maria versus Gail. It makes me think that they're wasting their time on Maria versus Gail. And for a match that you've built up to for the better part of a year, that's a tough pill to swallow. You know, the only real anticipation here, I guess, is supposed to come from being excited to see Maria finally get her comeuppance, to see her finally get her ass kicked. But, again, the writers screwed the pooch with that. Because at this point, I don't want to see Gail have the honor of doing that anymore. I want Allie to do it. I want Allie to have that match. I think a lot of people do. I mean, what else do you expect when you have Maria spend like 5 minutes straight insulting Allie, generating heat for Allie, making the crowd chant for Allie, making them want to see Maria get beat up by Allie, only for Gail to then come out and be the one to kick Maria's ass? You know, it comes off like Gail is just capitalizing on heat that rightfully belongs to someone else. And seriously, what did you think the result of that was going to be? Did you think the fans were going to rally behind Gail at that point? Why would they? So yeah, I was not a big fan of that segment at all. The ninja thing was really stupid. I don't think Gail got much of a reaction when she took the mask off. I don't think the fans really cared that much. This Gail-Maria feud has overstayed its welcome, and I just don't care anymore. You know, it's time to focus on a different knockout for a change, TNA. The fans are telling you which one they want, and newsflash, she's not named Gail Kim. So, our main event. this week is the big tag match with Lashley and Mike Bennett versus EC3 and Moose. And it's a really fun match while it lasted, but it felt like it was over as soon as it began. I mean, this match couldn't have been 5 minutes long. And considering the people involved, that was disappointing, to say the least. Then Lashley and EC3 fight, and they get pulled apart, and Billy Corgan comes out to make a lethal lockdown match for next week, because, what could make more sense than using a huge gimmick match on free TV to hype up a regular match on pay-per-view? I know the TV ratings are the most important thing right now, but still, that's never not gonna feel awkward. It's just not. Another hit and miss show this week. Certain things were good, but other things need some work. One of the bigger problems here was the timing issues. I don't know what happened to cut the main event so criminally short, but that really hurt the ending. Some segment must have run long, and the only ones you could really point to were probably the Hardy's Decay segment, which was awesome, minus the Rebby thing, and Maria's public workout, which felt like a big misfire, even though Allie continues to get over like $1 million. And that's too bad, because that tag team main event could have been really hot if they'd given it a decent amount of time, They definitely could have cut Maria squashing the jobber. That really didn't do anything for anyone, and if you take that time and put it in the main event, I think the show would have worked a lot better. Okay. And moving on to the chat room. Let's see. Should TNA do a mixed tag team division? They would have some teams: Mike and Maria, Matt and Rebby, Allie and Pepper Parks, now Cody and Brandy, hell, even Steve and Rosemary. Not a real couple, but still a team. I don't think so. Do you mean like having like mixed tag team titles and all that stuff? Because I don't know. I don't think so. I think they've got enough trouble making the championships they have now look relevant and interesting and legitimate. I think just adding more championships at this point is not the answer. Although I have been a proponent of them doing more intergender type stuff. So I do think there's something there, but not a mixed tag division. No. The build-up of Maria and Allie has been excellent. Their match should be really fun. Wait, it's Gail versus Maria. Never mind. Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be how a lot of people feel at this point. Why is Sienna still with Maria? She was pissed off when Allie won the title, but she's fine with Maria having it? Good question. I would suspect that she is pissed off about it, but she knows that as soon as Maria loses the title, she goes back to being the leader of the Knockouts. So I think she wants to play her cards close to the vest and keep Maria as an ally, because she's a powerful ally to have, even if she's not leader of the Knockouts right now. Of course, I'm just assuming that Maria goes back to being leader of the Knockouts, because that's what Dixie made it sound like when she removed Maria from the position. She said, as long as you're the Knockouts champion, you can't be leader of the Knockouts. Okay, so does that mean she gets the position back after she loses the title? I think so. So in that sense, Sienna staying with Maria would track. But if Maria's not getting that job back when she loses the title, then yeah, I don't get it. Let's see. If Cody wants to reunite with Rex and is on a full-time basis, then it would be a great idea for the tag team division until Davey returns. Yeah, it would. We don't know if Cody is going to be there on a full-time basis, but I sure hope so, because I like Team Rhodes Scholars a lot. I like the card for Bound for Glory minus Maria versus Jane Cena match, and Bound for Gold match, which seems like just an excuse for the jobbers to be on the show. Yeah. Plus, last year's winner of the Bound for Gold match was Tyrus. He held onto that thing for like months and months, and then they threw it away in a random match that didn't do anything that was felt like it was done just to get it out of the way, you know? So it's not like there's a good precedent here. I think it's going to be their version of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It's taking everybody who doesn't have a spot on the card and just throwing them into one match. It's kind of funny how they put a graphic on the Twitter page saying, "Oh, Robbie E is officially entered in the Bound for Gold match." Who cares? Okay, the guy hasn't even been on TV lately. It's not like he was doing anything interesting before he was taken off TV. And also, it's Robbie E, and he sucks. Who the hell cares? You have anyone interesting in that match? Have you watched the One Night Only show? That had no, I haven't. I typically don't bother with those. You know, Eli Drake and Sienna on the mic more. Also, that show had a few bad parts where Josh Matthews acting like a dick on commentary. Well, horrible commentary for the One Night Only shows is nothing new. I typically don't watch those, but I watched a few of the Knockouts Knockdown shows where the commentary with Mike Tenay and Taz was so bad I had to mute the TV. Where Taz making all these sexist remarks and not even bothering to remember the names of the wrestlers or purposely mispronouncing them just to be an asshole. Calling Mia Yim, Mia him. Get it? Because she looks like a man. Ha ha ha, that's really funny. No, the commentary was so fucking bad. In my opinion, it was the commentary was so bad for those shows. It was grounds for dismissal. If I was the person in charge, I was like, how could you stand for this? So yeah, I'm. The precedent for commentary on the One Night Only shows is really bad. You know, Tenay and Taz set that bar low. If the commentary was bad, yeah, I'm not surprised. Though I do prefer Josh Matthews to Tenay or Taz. Let's see. Brandy Rhodes posted some training videos on her Twitter. Going by those, she doesn't look that bad. She has been training since FCW. WWE would not give her a chance. Okay. I'm assuming she's on the same type of deal as Cody is. So is she even going to stick around long term? I don't know. But saying that she's not bad doesn't really excite me. Because I want to, if they're going to bring in another new knockout, I want to see someone who's great, someone who's exciting. Kaylee Ray. Excuse me. Don't know where that came from. But yeah, unless it's somebody really interesting, then I don't. I'm not really that intrigued because they've got a good group of knockouts right now, and most of them are really underutilized. So we're just adding another name to the pile here. Is she going to stand out? I mean, is anyone going to stand out right now? Because the only thing they're really doing with the knockout division is the Gail Kim push, which takes up the lion's share of the attention, and also the Alley thing, which is kind of a byproduct of that. And then you've got the other girls who aren't really doing anything. Except the ones that have found other things to do as managers, like Rosemary. So, okay, bring in Brandy Rhodes. All right. Well, is she going to be sticking with her husband and doing something with them, with him, and presumably that feud with Mike Bennett and Maria that Cody wants to have? Or is she actually going to be wrestling with the other knockouts? Because if that happens, it's like, well, what are they going to do with her? They going to do anything interesting with her? What can they do with her? Is she good? Is she TV ready? I don't know. We'll see, I guess. I love how the fans only cheer for Allie no matter what's going on during the knockout matches or segments on the show. It's pretty obvious what the fans want to see. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I said something about this on TN Asylum in the comments section, how clearly they wanted to turn Allie face, They've designed it to work that way, but they couldn't have predicted that the face turn would work this well so quickly that she would start to overshadow Gail Kim right when Gail's character really needed to be at its hottest. And now it's like the fans don't care about Gail anymore because all they want to do is chant for Allie. It's really funny, actually. I really think that's what it's going to be like at Bound for Glory. You're finally going to have Gail Kim versus Maria, and then all the fans are going to be doing is chanting, "We want Allie." Because I think the fans were so starved for a new knockout babyface to root for that they just latched onto Allie for dear life and they won't let go. It's interesting that Gail's never-ending push kind of backfired on her in that way because the fans she was pushed too hard for too long and people are tired of her. Along comes a compelling alternative with Cherry Bomb, and now fans are saying no. Fuck Gail Kim, we want this person right here. Kind of ironic, really. Thoughts on rumors that WWE is interested in Matt? Yeah, I'm not surprised. He's one of the most buzzed about people in wrestling after the final deletion. So of course they're interested in him, because they don't want TNA to have him. Matt Hardy isn't stupid. What would he get from coming back to WWE? Crazy schedule and no creative power. Well, he'd get money. That would be the primary reason for going. Not that Matt is financially strapped. He's got to be pretty well off. Because he's got a really nice house and everything. So I guess it would come down to how much does Matt want more money versus how important is it for him to have a creative freedom and a very considerable amount of booking power, because he wouldn't have that in WWE. So I guess it depends on what Matt's looking for. They should just call him Cody Rhodes, Roads. Different spelling gets you out of the copyright. Yeah. Or they could just call him Cody Runnels. Yeah, I don't think too many. I don't think most people know that's his real name anyway. Let's see. With TNA filming a lot of shows next week, them bringing in more talent will really help out, especially when wrestlers will wrestle multiple times a day for the entire week. Yeah, that helps. Of course, there's an easy solution to that. If you don't have new talent, just don't have the same people wrestling on every show. You can have them wrestle on one show and then cut a promo on the other, so they don't have to wrestle back-to-back segments in the same night. I don't think it's rocket science. It's just being creative. Vanguard 1 now has a Twitter account. Yeah, I know. I saw that. I subscribed to it. I follow Vanguard 1 on Twitter now. Which knockout would make Rosemary the heel? Which knockout would make Rosemary the heel that people should boo? Allie. If you've seen what they're doing in Smash Wrestling right now, those two know how to put a feud over. I've said this many times. Courtney Rush and Cherry Bomb is the best feud in women's wrestling. And sooner or later, that they're going to have to translate that to TV because that's too good of an opportunity not to do it. Honestly, I think it would work either way, really. Even though Cherry Bomb's the heel and their feud on the Indies, I mean, they could go both ways. They could have Rosemary be the heel and Allie be the face, so they could do Allie as the heel at some point and have Rosemary be the face. It would work either way, honestly. I can't wait for the Sienna pipe bomb. Oh, me too. It kind of sucks that she hasn't gotten an opportunity to talk very much because she's one of the best female talkers in the industry, probably. She can cut a good promo. It's one of the things I was worried about when they put her with Maria, was that she would kind of get overshadowed in the mics and the promo department because Maria would probably be doing most of the talking for her. And unfortunately, that's what happened. And Sienna is not a woman that needs anyone to talk for her. She's got great mic skills. She can talk for herself. And I think they're doing her a disservice by not allowing her to do that. All the Maria being ultra heel thing did was make fans want Allie to kick her ass, yet instead we get failed Kim at Bound for Glory. And I'm calling this. That's going to lead to a really awkward situation at Bound for Glory when you're doing Maria versus Gail, but all the fans want to see is Allie, and they booked themselves into a corner here because they're going to have Allie play a part in that match if they want fans to care about it. Most likely, that would be the point, to have Allie turn on Maria, or at the very least have Allie to do something to cost Maria the title. So they need Allie in order for the people to really care about the match, but there's every possibility that Allie will be the only thing that people care about when the match happens. So, I'm not sure what they do about that. Feel like the company is taking knockouts like Jade and Sienna for granted. Yeah, they are. Unfortunately, them doing the Gail Kim Hall of Fame induction, so Gail's taking her victory lap here. So nearly all the focus is on her, and you're not leaving anything for anyone else. And I'm hoping that will change after Bound for Glory, but then we're going to have Gail Kim's new title reign to do. So presumably they're going to be spending a lot of time and attention on that. And I don't know what there is for the other girls. One of the reasons why I'm not terribly interested in Brandy Rhodes is like, well, what the hell can they do with her? They don't have enough time to properly feature the girls they already have. Now they're adding another one? Ironically, I think one of the better decisions they could make with the Knockouts now is to just take Gail Kim off the show for a while. Give her a break. Give her a vacation for a while. And, we saw what happened the last time she was off TV for a few weeks. Allie got over huge in a very short time. All because they actually devoted some time and attention to her. Now imagine if they took the time and attention that was devoted to Gail Kim every week and gave it to Jade and Sienna and all those other girls. It seems like they'd have a lot more time available if Gail wasn't getting like 90% of it every week. When was the last time Lashley lost a match? He should be on a pretty long streak by now. The guy who will defeat him will benefit from it even more if the streak was a thing. Last time Lashley lost a match. God. Damn, it's been a while. It's a good question. I'm not sure. Reason why there should be more variety in the X Division because of their old motto of no limits. Yeah, they are missing a Samoa Joe type now. I would like to see like a heavier high flyer in there. Not sure who they could get for that though. I couldn't hear Maria with all the Allie chants. Clearly the fans really want to see Gail, LOL. Yeah. I swear I find myself to hate WWE more and more because it's so damn boring, and plus I love how TNA does things differently than WWE. Yeah, I think they're going back to being alternative. It's a good thing. Let's see. We all know EC3 will win at Bound for Glory. I believe Galloway will win, Broken Hardys, and Gail Kim. I don't know if it's a sure thing that EC3 will win. I mean, they could have Lashley retain the title at Bound for Glory, and I'd be okay with it. I mean, his title reign's been so good. It's like, why stop it? It's not even close to being stale. If they wanted to keep it going, fine. What rating do you think Raw will get Monday night? Between football and the debate, they'll probably get crushed. Yeah. I think they got a 1.88 2 weeks ago, and as I understand it, the viewership went down again next week. I don't know what the rating was, but if they're doing up against football and the presidential debate, I didn't know that was on Monday. But yeah, they're gonna get, if that's their competition on Monday, they're gonna get crushed. They're gonna just annihilated. BFG is in the impact zone. I hope they change it up. There's a bigger audience. Get some fucking fireworks. I doubt it. Probably not in the budget right now. The matchup bout for glory should be Maria versus Ali non-title, and Sienna with the title versus Jade. Maria versus Gail will be the most boring, predictable match on the card. You're not wrong. And I really wish they hadn't added the Knockouts title to this feud, because it didn't need the title, and it doesn't give the other Knockouts anything to do. They could have easily had a title match, be separate from the Gail Maria thing. And I think Maria versus Ali would be much more interesting, because then you could see, at least you could suspend your disbelief and think, oh, Maria could beat Ali, because the Ali character is supposed to be a novice. So there's at least some suspension of disbelief there. But does anyone really think Maria's gonna beat Gail Kim? No, she'd need like a crap ton of interference, that's for sure. But yeah, it's a really predictable route they took with that one. Let's see. What do you see TNA in the next 5 years if it's still thriving? To be honest, for me, I have no idea. If this was in 09 or 012, I could be optimistic despite the good feuds and talent. I think it depends on a lot of things. I think if Billy Corgan is able to buy full control over the company like he wants to, I think they're in good shape. And I think based on what we've seen thus far, I think Billy Corgan is the guy to take this company into the future. I think he's got a vision that Dixie Carter didn't necessarily have, and I think he's the guy the company needs. So if he gets it, I think they'll be in better shape. The product is good these days. This show wasn't amazing. It had some problems, but overall, like in general, the Pop TV era has been, very strong. It's been quality shows, like 9 times out of 10. So the product is good. I think all they're really lacking is, some advertising and maybe a publicity stunt or two, to get people interested. But it's the company. TNA isn't coming off like the redheaded stepchild of wrestling anymore. It's, that perception has changed. People are starting to catch on that it's a good show now, and it's not the same as it was, a couple of years ago when it was Hogan and Bischoff doing their shit, and the Aces and Eights just ruining the product week after week. It's a good show now. I think if they can just keep that going with Billy Corgan, leading the charge, I think they can finally stop this this downward trend, and they can start growing the company again. Where was I? Do you think Gail winning the title with no fan reaction will look bad? I think it might send a message to management that it's time to cool it with the Gail Kim push. Do you think Decay should have a new member debut at BFG? I don't know about that. I'd be really hesitant to mess with the gestalt that the Decay have right now, because it works so well for them. I think there's a chance that we might see Bram show up. Whether he helps the Decay or helps the Hardys win, I think is in question. I think there's a reason why we haven't seen him since the Decay shoved him in their trunk and took off with him. So I think if there's a new member, I suspect it could be Bram. Maybe they like brainwashed him or something. But a new member, I don't think so. WWE wants Dana Brooke to be a super baby face, and are using Sasha and Bayley as background characters. Thoughts on that? I don't get it. Dana Brooke is a huge babyface. What are they seeing that I'm not? I haven't seen anything special about Dana Brooke yet. I mean, they haven't showcased her all that much, so I don't really know what kind of a talent she is. I didn't watch her in NXT, but I haven't seen anything special about her yet. I don't know that the fans have really reacted to her all that well. Dana Brooke is a huge face. I don't see it. Let's see. That was the most angry and pissed off Rosemary that's ever been, and it was pretty frightening. Yeah, she can be pretty scary when she wants to be. Do you agree that EC3 is TNA's John Cena and Bobby Lashley is TNA's Brock Lesnar? Yeah, you could say that. Let's see. I hope the grand title match at BFG will have 5-minute rounds instead of 3-minute rounds. Yeah, I suggested that too. Like have when the title is on the line, like make the rounds longer. They can do like 5-minute rounds. Because in the UFC they do 5 rounds for championship matches. I think that would be cool. Mrs. Cena will likely win a Bound for Glory. After that, do you really think she will put over new talent that she ran through for the entire year? Anything's possible, but I doubt it. Gail doesn't seem to like putting over other people, and even when she does it, it's like she's so protected that the win doesn't mean anything really. And we saw Sienna beat Gail Kim twice, but it only happened when Gail was about to win. And then some interference screwed her up for a moment, and then Sienna got a cheap victory, so it didn't really put Sienna over at all. And then afterward, Gail beat Sienna and a partner in a fucking handicap match. So was Sienna put over at all by those 2 matches? Not really. It's not just about putting over other people. They have to be willing to make Gail Kim look vulnerable in order to effectively make these other girls look like they got the best of her. And that's something that they really don't seem to want to do. And I'm not sure what would get them to change their minds about that. But they have it in their heads that Gail Kim cannot look weak for any reason. When you book someone like that, nobody can get over on them, and it ends up hurting the person in question as well as everybody else because it makes them a lot less compelling. Because if they're indestructible and unbeatable, well, what's interesting about that? There's no reason to rally behind them anymore. Yeah, the most over babyface in the knockout division right now is Allie, who's like the biggest underdog in the locker room. Biggest underdog character. She's a novice and she loses all the time, and yet people love her for it because they want to get behind her and they want her to rise above these obstacles and overcome them. Gail Kim doesn't have any obstacles. She's the obstacle for everybody else to overcome, and no one can seem to. No one can manage to do it. Did you read the report? Mentioned the TNA is interested in Paige. Yeah, I mentioned it, but it doesn't look like Paige is going anywhere for the time being, so it doesn't really matter. Well, of course they'd be interested in Paige. Why wouldn't they be? But it doesn't look like she's going to become available. Let's see. I don't really know why WWE's ratings are going down lately. Does anyone remember Rollins' WWE Championship reign? What a fucking nightmare. Rollins played the chicken shit card. Well, they're going down lately because the product is, quite frankly, not very good. And football is on now, so that really hurts them. For the last couple of years, they've been getting slaughtered by football. It's taken a big chunk out of their audience because they don't have good audience retention against football anymore. Um, and the brand split has taken a lot of the top talent, taken all the top talent and split it up across two shows. So there's not as much there's less star power on Raw now. Less people that the fans are tuning in to see. So of course the ratings are going to go down. Let's see. Brandy can talk, so she's a Maria type until she improves. Well, she's probably going to be feuding with Maria. Because it's heavily rumored that Cody is coming to TNA so he can feud with Mike Bennett. So it's going to be the spouses feuding with each other, Cody and Brandy versus Mike and Maria. So yeah, I think it fits. Brandy should just be Cody's manager for now, which I'm fine with. Yeah, that's fine. How would you book Allie's turn on Maria at Bound for Glory? Might be a little soon for it to be like a deliberate act of betrayal. I could see it being something like Maria ordering Allie to do something to help her, but Allie screws up. But instead of accidentally screwing up, they play it like, oh, was that intentional? Because Allie kind of looks like she did it on purpose this time. And Allie being kind of coy, like, oh, sorry, Maria, I totally did that on by accident. So they're being kind of coy with it. It's obvious that she did it on purpose, but not like getting pissed off and just like punching Maria in the face, but just I can see it being something like that. Because you're trying to develop a character here, and you want to keep it organic. And I don't think they've gotten to the point where Allie is really pissed off just yet. So. Gail Kim's presence now is just channel-changing material for me. Pretty much all the matches have a storyline and build up for Bound for Glory, which is impressive, unlike WWE, who have pointless pay-per-views every week, it seems. Yeah, what are they up to, like 20 pay-per-views a year now? Something like that? Wow. That is a lot of pay-per-views. Ugh. TNA, when they're only doing 2 pay-per-views a year, they can have good build-up and storylines for every feud. There's no reason, there's no excuse for not having those. And WWE, it's like they've got so many shows. It's like, well, it's almost like they don't care. They're just trying to flood flood everything with content. They don't care if it's good or not. It's quantity over quality with WWE right now. That's the problem. Let's see. BFG, DJZ, and Andrew Everett could be a fresh matchup. Nothing against Eddie or Trevor, but we have all seen those matches all year. It would be fresh, but it wouldn't have any build-up. That's the problem. It would just be really random. I think DJZ and Eddie Edwards are the guys with the most. They're the most heavily pushed X Division guys right now. So I think that would make the most sense. Gail is about to tie Angelina, which people might think, does she have heat with the company? Angelina? I don't think so. I guess Allie will be an important subplot in the story long term to make Gail's reign more interesting. She'd need to interact with her a lot, maybe take her under her wing. Yeah, I suspect that's what we're gonna see. I think after Bound for Glory, Maria will turn on Allie and just like kick her out. So you're not my apprentice anymore. And then Gail will kind of take on Allie, and I think we're gonna see like either Gail or Jade or possibly both of them training Allie so she can become a good wrestler. You think that's the direction they're gonna take? Uh, and Tigre Uno just vanished into the ether after that push he got last year. Yeah, I don't know if he's still injured. Not sure what happened to him. Um, let's see. Dana Brooke and Charlotte remind me of Velvet Sky and Angelina Love. Both groups are blondes and boring. Well, Angelina and Velvet had a lot of good moments early on in their run. This is back in 07, 08, 09. But that first run of the Beautiful People was good stuff. It was only until later when they just got really just painfully boring. And at least Charlotte can wrestle. It was certainly better than those two. Not that Angelina was bad. She just she was solid enough. She just after a time she just got complacent. Didn't look like she really cared that much anymore. Velvet was never any good. But Charlotte's a good athlete. She can wrestle. I think the personality thing is still a work in progress with her. Dana Brooke, it's like I don't really know enough about her. Marsh Rocket can be the big man of the X Division. I've heard conflicting things about him. Some people say that he's not an X Division guy. Don't really know a whole lot about him. I think he seems like a really agile, bigger man. I don't know if that would translate to the X Division. So who knows? I think once Gail wins, the focus will just be on her and who will job to her, and the rest of the knockouts will be pushed to the side. Oh, so it'll just be business as usual then. Sure hope not. Does there need to be a swerve with Lashley and EC3? Like Cody helping Lashley? I don't think so. I think you got enough star power in there where I don't think a swerve is really necessary. And I don't think they'd want Cody helping Lashley. I don't think they want people booing Cody. No, I think they'd want people to cheer for him. So I don't see that happening. Suppose we shouldn't rule it out, though. Let's see. Is the Great War actually going to be a live match? No idea. I don't know. Because I'm still not exactly sure. If it is, they should really take this outside the Impact Zone and fight over the whole Universal Studios. That would be cool. Filming it might be a problem because you got that's a theme park, so you're gonna have park goers all over the place. So that could be difficult. But yeah, is it going to be a live match or another final deletion, delete or decay type thing? I don't know. Let's see. Maria versus Gail is like making Robbie E the TNA champion and having him face Lashley, meaning no suspense at all in who will win, although even as a heel, Lashley is more over than Gail. It's like Robbie E versus Lashley. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah, there. Maria's character was never a good wrestler, just a politicker, so she should be the easiest in the division for Allie to beat clean. Yeah. Yeah. Remember back years ago, we all complained about how TNA were not making stars out of their homegrown talent, new stars in general. What I've noticed is this from last year till now, TNA have been making new stars right and left and center, as opposed to when their roster, my opinion, was much stronger, not including the ex-WWE, WWE, ECW, WCW guys. Yeah, they've well, a lot of that is a lot of the name stars leaving finally. So when you have to rely on your homegrown people, it's going to force you to make new stars because you got no choice. But I think they've realized that this is something that they need to do finally. Um, Heading into Halloween, it would be the perfect time to give Rosemary the title. You'd think so. Um, I don't know if it'll happen, but the timing would seem right for it. If Decay loses a BFG and the feud doesn't continue, then what other tag team will the Hardys face and have it be anywhere near as good as the Decay feud? Well, I think the Decay will lose at Bound for Glory. Tag team the Hardys face, my guess would be Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett. It seems like it'd be easiest, they'd be the easiest team to make look like a credible threat, because, the bromance ain't going to be a credible threat to the Hardys, and Grado and Shera, and the Tribunal, that ain't going to work. So Lee and Everett, I think, would be the best bet. What if Bram joined the Decay willingly and the kidnapping was a hoax to keep him as a secret weapon? Possibly. Or they could have just brainwashed him after they kidnapped him. Who knows? I do think they're keeping Bram off TV for a reason. Whether it's to interfere at Bound for Glory, I don't know. Okay. All right. Get your final questions and comments in now, because I got to wrap this up in a minute. Let's see. Hopefully a BFG that make Aaron Drew a standard match, because I think that style of 3-minute matches would not be as fun to watch at pay-per-view. Well, I hope I don't know about making it a standard match. I think at the very least they should make the rounds longer. Let's see. Have you seen Green Room? If you haven't, you should check it out. It stars Anton Yelchin, who in my opinion would have made a better Spider-Man than Andrew Garfield. Sucks that he died so young. I haven't seen Green Room. No. Yeah, it is too bad about Anton Yelchin, though. That guy was talented. But thank you for the recommendation there. Sad that the only person that has a clean win over Gail in 2016 was Maria and her quick roll-up, yet nobody else on the roster has a clean win over Gail. Yeah, it's a problem. If Gail versus Maria becomes a face group versus a heel group, I'd like to see Laurel versus Jade. Yeah, they had an explosion match back when Laurel was still Chelsea Green. I thought that match was really good. So yeah, I'd like to see that feud, definitely. Of course, the babyface heel dynamics would be switched this time. Not sure how that would work out, but yeah, I'd like to see that. TNA has a mix of wrestling along storylines, interesting characters, whereas WWE is just generic characters and non-stop wrestling. That combo may be why casual fans aren't watching WWE as much. It's not helping WWE. That's for sure. Perfect example. They had the Cruiserweight division debut on Raw this past Monday. There was no reaction for any of these guys when they came out. I think Brian Kendrick got a little bit of a pop, but otherwise, there was nothing there. I think they got the crowd sort of into the match, or at least into the big spots in the match. But I think they did these guys a disservice by not introducing them as characters beforehand. I think they were counting on their appearances in the Cruiserweight Classic and expecting people to recognize them from that. But I think the lack of a reaction to the entrances shows that a lot of those casual fans weren't watching the Cruiserweight Classic. So they had no idea who those guys were. some of them seem to have personality, like that Rich Swann dude who seemed like he had a lot of charisma. But for the most part, it's like they're what's setting these guys apart from each other? You know, uh, it's like, what are their personalities? Well, we don't know. You get a little intro promos saying, "Hi, this is my name and I exist." But other than that, it's like they need more than that. They need characters and personalities, and you didn't. And they didn't give them that. They just threw them all into a big match, and they really had to work to get a reaction out of the fans. It's like, the match was fun, but you need characters to root for, and appreciate the effort from the wrestlers, but I think creative let them down because they all felt kind of generic, except for Rich Swann, who kind of stood out based on his through just because of stuff that he was doing on his own. Let's see. Marty Bell needs a stronger push. She's improved in the ring and is one of the best talkers in the division. They could do more with Marty, yeah. Doesn't seem like they have much of a role for her as a wrestler now, but she could be a good manager for somebody at least. She could be a mouthpiece for somebody. Decay are on course to breaking Beer Money's record. At Bound for Glory, they'll be on 196 days. Are they? I didn't know that was the record. Huh. It's kind of weird how they've only really had like 2 feuds in all that time. It was the bromance thing, which, whatever, and then the Hardys. Strange. Okay. If it's Eddie versus DJZ at Bound for Glory, why not have Eddie turn heel? Nobody would see that coming. And have Eddie be the heel X Division guy. Clearly, Lee and Everett have not been good heels thanks to their booking. I don't think so. It's possible, but I think, once Davey comes back, they're going to have the Wolves go back together. And I think they're going to want the Wolves to be faces because you're going to want them to feud with Decay. And I'm not going to rule it out. But, heel Wolves versus heel Decay, that would be awkward. Yeah, but we'll see. Plus, I don't really know if the time is right for Eddie to turn heel. Let's see. Ryback changing his real name to Ryback. Whatever, man. I don't really care. Rising versus Broken Hardys would be cool. A heel, with the heel Drew Galloway versus with the heel Eli Drake getting back together. That would be interesting. Yeah. I wouldn't say no to that. Should Rosemary be wrestling for the Knockouts title, even knowing that she will most likely get jobbed out to Gale? No. I'm cool with Rosemary doing her thing with Decay right now. I don't want to see her go for the title because if she did, like you said, she'd just get jobbed out to Gale. I don't want to see that. Rosemary currently holds a victory over Gail Kim, and I don't want Gail to get that win back. Maybe after the Hall of Fame thing and after Bound for Glory, maybe they could start to cool it with Gail Kim a little bit. Maybe when Gail is a little bit more vulnerable, then you could throw Rosemary at her. When I'm have a little bit more confidence about Rosemary looking good. TNA should use online media more. It's free self-promotion that can use material from the show and feeds back into it. Plus, they could get ad revenue from YouTube. Sure they should use online media more. They should advertise more. I want to see Sienna and Eli Drake together. Yeah, they seem to have a good chemistry, judging by recent one-night-only events. Plus, Sienna would get to talk more. Yeah, that would be it. They'd be a nice pairing, I think. When will Marsh Rocket and Caleb Conley debut? Well, they used Marsh Rocket on some Explosion tapings, the last TV tapings. He worked a few Explosion matches, so I guess he's on his way. Don't know about Caleb Conley yet. After Bound for Glory, hopefully. People have compared Dana Brooke to Scott Steiner. Unless Dana cuts promos like him, I don't see anything in her to be a face. The record is 212 days. Well, Decay are probably losing the tag titles at Bound for Glory, so damn. Damn, they came pretty close to breaking the record, though. Holy shit. That would have been cool. I wish they'd made that a thing. Raquel is already better than Eva Marie and Velvet Sky. Not that that's saying much, but still, even though Velvet had mic and acting skills, debatable. I think Velvet was good in certain situations. Yeah, I think Raquel shows potential as a wrestler, but she's still just unbelievably green, and I still don't think she's ready for TV, in my opinion. And that's just as a wrestler. You know, in terms of mic skills, I don't think she has any. We've seen her talk very, very little, and when she does, it's not like she does it well. Her first promo in that infamous pre-tape at the gym. Oh, so you guys want to be tag team champions? Wow. I think it's very telling that since then they've had her talk as little as possible. So I don't think they trust her mic skills either. Great show you guys did with the Team Heelcast. Shameless self-promotion time. I made another appearance on the Heelcast, which you can listen to at tnasylum.net. They also have their own page on YouTube. Just do a search for Heelcast and it comes right up. Which episode is it? I've been on a couple of them now. Let's see. Come on. Episode 31. It's on tnasylum.net right now. I guested on that episode, and I guess the TNA dude has challenged me to come back and host the show next time. So I'll be doing that at some point. So go check it out. Go subscribe to those guys. They put on a really good show. They're friends of mine, so go give them more subscribers. They deserve it. I want TNA to bring back British Boot Camp. Me too. That was a great show. And by all accounts, it was a big success both times they did it. I don't know why they wouldn't do it again. WWE is trying to be diet NXT, but NXT actually has characters and storylines, not just match after match after match. I'll take your word for that. Okay, and last question. Gail Kim is nothing but a hot girl who can wrestle also, so Raquel can be that in a few years. Well, I doubt she'll be as good as Gail is as a wrestler. Plus, Gail can talk a little bit. I mean, she's never been brilliant on the microphone, but she can string a few sentences together, and that currently puts her ahead of Raquel, who does not appear to have a perfect mastery of the English language yet. She may turn out to have some potential as a wrestler, but she's probably still a long way away from fully realizing that potential. So, all right, that's going to be it. Like I said, go to tnasylum.net, check out the Heelcast. I'm on the latest episode. That's episode 31. Also, listen to the rest of them, because it's a good show. And I will be back on Thursday at 10:15 p.m. Eastern. The Comic Show post-show, we're going to be talking about the next episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think possibly the season premiere of Arrow, unless that premieres the week after. But yeah, we'll have at least one show to talk about. And also, hopefully back on Saturday for the next Impact stream, unless I have to work on Saturday. I hope I don't, but we'll see. And in the meantime, I gotta go because I gotta work tomorrow and I got a few things to do before then. So, thanks everybody for tuning in, And I will see you on Thursday. Take care.